All right, looks like we're live. Welcome everyone to the NFT Summit. Thanks for having us here. We're going to start with a round of introductions. Some of you may be familiar with the NFT space, crypto space, and some of the companies here, but my name is James Beck. I've worked at ConsenSys for about 4 years before the first ERC 721 NFT contract was even created. It's been awesome to see the evolution of this space, and I myself am a part of music collectives. I make music, DJ on the side, and I think one of the most exciting things was when I started realizing DJs and collectibles in Brooklyn, collectives in Brooklyn are starting to get into the NFT space, and just in a matter of 6 months, you all of a sudden have some of my favorite artists launching audio NFTs. So I thought we'd do a quick round of introductions. And we can start with you, Ashton, and then Carolin and Vandal. Maybe start with Carolin. Ashton, you getting set up?
Sorry, James. I was having an echo there. I think it's been fixed. I appreciate that patience. Thank you so much for the introduction. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the NFT Summit. I'm Ashton, Addison, CEO and founder of EventChain Smart Tickets. We're a blockchain secured event ticketing platform. It's been running for about 4 years now. I'm also the host of the Crypto Coin Show, which is a YouTube channel that has about 700 episodes and a broadcaster on Reuters Insider Financial Network. I've done a lot of videos recently with projects that are working in the NFT space, incorporating it with DeFi. Especially is interesting to me, and how that can apply to the music and entertainment industry and other ways to monetize NFTs. So I'm really excited to dive into those intricacies. And thank you so much for all of the panelists to be here today. I'm really excited for this discussion.
Hi, I'm Carolin. I'm the co-founder of Mintbase, and I've been with Mintbase for about 2 years. I met Nate in Berlin back in 2019, and since then we've been working on Mintbase, which is like a smart contract factory. So anyone can come onto Mintbase, create their own store, and create their own businesses. So people mint NFTs as tickets, as music, as art. They can do whatever they want, literally. And last year, we met Vandal from DAO Records, and he really asked us and pushed us to integrate music NFTs and audio NFTs. And thanks, Vandal, for doing that. And he has been pushing the space a lot. So since then, we've also integrated with music NFTs. And then when the Ethereum gas fee got super high last year, we added another blockchain. So we are now live on Ethereum and also on Near, which is much cheaper. It's more sustainable, and we have more functions.
Hey everyone, I'm Vandal. I guess I am the instigator of DAO Records. I'm originally from Toronto, Canada. Hip-hop artist, started the early 90s as a producer using analog equipment and emceeing. Love to travel. I've been lots of places around the world just as a tourist, backpacker. And then later on in life, when music started to kind of pick up, I traveled for music, ended up settling in Southeast Asia, specifically Malaysia. I've been out there for the past 15 years, and that's kind of where I discovered crypto back in 2017. Found out about, I knew about Bitcoin before that, but then discovered, all of the other things surrounding it, and NFTs, which, everybody kind of knows crypto kitties by now, I would imagine. So that was kind of my start in it. And then how I got to DAO Records was just through the crypto scene in Malaysia. Jason Chu introduced me to DAOs through DAOstack, and that kind of brought me into the loop. And then I rediscovered NFTs through crypto art at the end of 2019, early 2020, and here we are today. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, everyone. So as this is an NFT summit, we get to exclude the normal introduction of what an NFT is and even what an audio NFT is. So instead, I'm going to ask each of you, and we can start actually with you, Vandal, since you may have minted the first ever audio NFT. What was the first moment in which you realized, all right, NFTs, this provable ownership of digital items on a global permissionless blockchain, was going to be a game changer for both the music industry or the events industry?
Yeah, I think it was that moment where I discovered CryptoKitties. Actually, at first I was like, "But what is this?" Like collectible digital cats. I didn't get it at first, and then I looked deeper into it, and I was like, "Wow, this is amazing! Like this is really going to change things for sure." But at the time, I didn't really have any knowledge of any other creative people in the space, and I had kind of been searching for creatives, and again, it wasn't until I guess I found out more about crypto art at that time, and then realized, okay, the creatives are finally here. Now let's see what we can do with bringing music to the NFTs. And there were people before we minted our NFTs who were doing audio NFTs, like Rare Skrilla is one of the guys who've been doing stuff for a while. And, a bunch of other people, Connie Digital as well. Got to give a shout out to the originators of the audio NFT scene. And so we just kind of wanted to see how we could integrate, the MP3 element into it, because you have the JPEGs and you have the PNGs and animated GIFs for the art. So, we connected with Carolin and Nate from Mintbase, and was like, how can we do MP3s? And they went ahead and they pushed forward. So, they're using Arweave for their storage on chain. So I guess on a technicality, we did mint the first official on-chain audio NFT in that sense. So I mean, I guess it's something that happened, but there's so many things in this space that we just kind of want to move forward from there and see what we can do next. But yeah, that was kind of the first instant where I was like, okay, let's get the musicians in here. We need musicians in this space. And I'm so happy now to see more and more musicians entering. And, that's what really excites me.
Yeah. And I mean, as people have understood how NFTs work, and in some cases you use an NFT platform and it doesn't necessarily contain the, raw data or MP3 of the file on chain, you started seeing platforms using Arweave, Filecoin. Carolin, can you, for the less technical audience, explain what Arweave is and why that's important for, keeping the information attached to the actual minted NFT?
Yeah, sure. So there are different ways to store data. So most platforms or, companies in normal Web 2.0 store data on a normal server like AWS or something like that. Our mission is to decentralize everything. So if Mintbase dies tomorrow, your NFT should live on for 100 years. So we looked around, looked at different solutions, and there are really only like 3 solutions. So Filecoin wasn't live at that point. Then you have IPFS, and then you have Arweave. So we went with Arweave because it was the best solution. With IPFS, you still need Pinata or like a centralized system that pings the files and recovers the files. So we didn't like that, and we wanted to cut out as many middlemen as possible. So we decided to go with Arweave, and it has proven to work really well. And at the core of it all, we just really want to empower creators and also to educate people that they know where their music or where their audio lives, and everything should be on-chain, everything should be recoverable. And what we do is actually when you upload a file like a song or an image and tag it to the NFT, there's like the NFT actually gets minted on-chain, so either on Ethereum or on Near, and the metadata, so everything that is pegged to the NFT gets stored on Arweave, and we pay the Arweave tokens in the background, so the user doesn't realize that we do that. And then, they are good to go. They can just port their smart contract. If they want to build their own NFT platform later on, they can do that, port their contract. And that's why we like it so much.
And switching gears slightly, Ashton, so EventChain seems to have like a pretty sensible approach when you're talking about ticketing. You offer a lot of different payment rails, whether that's, credit cards or crypto, and you accept, I think you said you accept 50 different cryptocurrencies. Why do you think ticketing and event management is ripe for disruption? Specifically, why are NFTs important? And, are you thinking about expanding beyond accepting crypto and going fully NFT for, managing events and issuing tickets?
Definitely, great question, James. And yeah, sort of go back to that aha moment that Vandal had when he first saw NFTs. And from the get-go with EventChain, it was obvious that there is a lot of friction and a lot of inequalities in the event ticketing industry, specifically with artists not getting enough share, the ticketing monopolies that are there, and the venues, everyone wants a giant cut. And the artist, this is really a blessing for the artist to be able to get more of a share and connect with their fans deeper as well, so that they can actually, there's a lot of fans that are dying to try and give the artist some recognition or money directly, but there's so many middlemen taking, a cut, including scalpers, and that was one of the first solutions that we were looking at putting in was, hey, NFTs, if we can create NFTs for a music event, and then you can put programmability in them to either limit the markup or give a kickback to the artist every time they're resold, that scalper market with paper tickets where they're being bought up and marked up 500%, for an A-list artist, that can be eliminated, or that can be redirected to the artist. So that was really the first aha moment of, hey, we can actually, artists are going to be dying to want to use this so that they can actually connect with their fans and get more funds. And in terms of payment with cryptocurrencies, we've been experimenting with, encouraging artists a lot. We started obviously having a lot of blockchain related events, crypto related events, and artists using EventChain on the early stages because they're evangelists of the technology. And they want to accept cryptocurrencies to help grow the system, but at the same time, it's hard to even find, a crypto conference where everyone wants to pay with crypto, because they're all trying to hodl onto their coins because they see the value in them and they don't want to give them up easily. But when you start adding in NFTs that are unique and collectibles, and Carolin mentioned the 100 years down the road, I think having collectibles from artists way down the road, decades down the road, is where the collectible part of the value is really going to accrue. And we're so early on that I think all of these large-scale music and entertainment industry figures are going to realize that this is not something that we're just going to do a quick flip next year. This is building content that is going to last and be permanent on the blockchain for decades to come. So quite a few points to cover there.
If I may add something, because we were the first ones to do NFT ticketing, actually on Ethereum in 2019, when the gas fee was still like, peanuts. So it was beautiful because you could see NFTs are those beautiful assets that can flow around the ecosystem. So people who were not going to the event, they could auction it off on OpenSea, and they could, trade it, and that could really display ownership, but also scarcity, because Meta Cartel at that time had this like funny image. It was like a chili or something, and even like now people are still using it as kind of like a membership. So that was like the first iteration. But what I find so interesting about NFT ticketing now is that it's not only one single use. Like when you go to a festival, right, you have like this ticket and you scan it, you're in the festival. It's a one-time use case, but when you have an NFT ticket, it's multi-purpose asset. So this NFT ticket can not only get you into the festival, but it can also be a music. You go to the festival, you play the song of the artist, you get into the festival. But at the same time, maybe you get a Ask Me Anything with the artist at the festival, or you get later down the road, exclusive access to content. But if I go even one step further, what's even more interesting is what we're doing right now. We have this function called split revenues and split royalties. That means that, for example, I'm a festival, I'm selling a ticket, and it's so much money for festival organizers to pay everyone. Like I have the artists and I have the musicians. So what you can do now with our system on Near is you can say, okay, I sell a ticket, Vandal gets 5%, Ashton gets 5% of every ticket sold, and James gets 10% of every ticket sold. And then you have different stakeholders in the event that earn, and they push and they promote the event, and everyone is part of the event. So that's super interesting, and that's all on-chain. You can split it, infinitely between 1,000 people or something like that. So, and not only for ticketing, but for all different areas. So we don't need to use any banks, and we can become super creative. So that's what I'm excited about, empowering not only like, just like one big festival or something, but empowering like people who are taking part in the festival.
So you're saying maybe in the future, Bundesliga, which already has sort of like 51% ownership of fans for each team in the league, may start having NFT issued tickets where, people who buy a ticket get a 0.00001% fraction ownership of the collective team. And you can start programming ways in which the ticket isn't just this one instance to, mean acceptance into an event, but it can mean ownership of maybe future rights or rewards or, access.
Exactly. Absolutely. And we are doing that at the moment with the German festival as like a use case. I will post the link in the chat. Vandal will also be there in Berlin. But you can do so many things.
That, I love talking about this because it makes me so excited about what 5-10 years down the line is. As an everyday Ethereum user, and I'm using other protocols like Tezos and Near, but yeah, it's true that gas throughput, instant finality, all of these things become real, tangible structural issues when you're trying to have a large-scale event. I was hoping, Carolin and Ashton, could you tell me a little bit more, Carolin, why Mintbase decided to choose Near? You've worked with Ethereum for a long time, why you went to Near? And secondly, kind of Ashton, how do you think, in order for this to scale to the point where Ticketmaster becomes outmoded, what sort of requirements does this protocol need?
Definitely. So last year, when the Ethereum gas fee spiked, we were just, we had no other choice than to look for other solutions, because our vision is NFTs that are used in microtransactions. If I go to a bar at a festival, I can redeem my NFT for a beer, or I can redeem, my NFT ticket at the event. And that's unfortunately not possible on Ethereum. Even at the moment, the gas fee is around 20 Gray, but it's still super expensive to do anything. And we will only find mass adoption if people can afford those redeeming things and everything with NFTs. So we looked at different chains. We looked at Solana, Polkadot, and Matic, and everything. But eventually we went with Near because it's written in the Rust programming language, which is the future, which we think is the future language out of everything. Then it's a green and sustainable blockchain, so they offset their carbon emissions. So of course, nothing is like, zero emissions, but what they do is, first of all, it's a proof of stake blockchain, so it's more energy efficient than Ethereum, and secondly, they offset
proof of stake is coming soon to Ethereum, FYI.
Nice. Exactly, and then we also found that Rust programming language, then the climate efficiency and proof of stake was very convincing, and the team was very professional, and they've delivered, and we haven't regretted it since. To be honest, the only downside at the beginning was that it was so new, so there were no tools. On Ethereum, you have the graph protocol, so nearly everyone uses the graph protocol. You have like all the infrastructure, but we had to build everything from the ground up, which took us like 7 months. So we built our own indexer, which is like the graph, and now it's really good. So the graph is also coming to Near, and we find it very amazing. And then sharding, they have the sharding technology, so it can never become like a state bloat issue like on Ethereum. And microtransactions, it's so cheap. Like doing anything is like, you can mint 100,000 tokens. It's like less than $1 or something like that. It's really ridiculous. Yeah.
Definitely, Carolina. And I actually did just speak with Ilya from Near Protocol on my Crypto Coin show, not just 2 weeks ago. And for those of people who haven't heard of Near Protocol or haven't looked into it yet, I was very impressed with what the team is working on. So I think that's a great choice. Now, James, you were talking about, ousting Ticketmaster, revolutionizing the industry and flipping it on its head. And I think that the path that we're taking right now and what's happened so far throughout 2021 is a lot of steps in the right direction, moving that way, right? Obviously, everyone in our industry sees the potential of the technology. It's just a matter of convincing and showing the potential to the everyday people, and then Ticketmaster and the people who run the show and the reasons why they should implement this technology. And I think that first step of, starting with the EDM artists and music festival owners starting to create NFTs and, taking back some of that ownership and taking more control, and more importantly as well, the data behind it. And from there, it started moving into, the sports athletes and major league sports, NFL, NBA, NBA with their Top Shot, and NHL players, starting to create their own NFTs and monetize those and making millions of dollars. That's going to perk the eyes up of the leagues, and especially the ticketing, which are sort of the gatekeepers for getting into the events for the leagues, right? And when Ticketmaster, they're obviously working on these things already, just a matter of implementing it in. I think with the transition, with the lockdown of events in the past year and a bit here, moving to fully digital, that's just accelerating it even further. There was that small amount of backlash where people are like, "Oh, we love the paper stubs, we love the memorabilia of it," but when the fans realize that they can have animated stubs, or stubs that they can if they have season tickets, they can all of a sudden lease those out through a DeFi-like action where they can rent them to people or trade for a different league season pass fully, securely, and transparently, and know that they don't have to trust the party that they're renting their season tickets to. And then Ticketmaster and Live Nation see that they can see all this data and where the money is moving and who's using what NFTs. That is a motherload of information that I'm sure they would love to have. And then the more information they have, the better they can utilize it and provide a better service. So we're definitely on the way to having all of this implemented in the next 2 to 3 years here, where everyone will likely be using digital tickets with NFTs. And I'm excited to see what kind of perks other players are putting into their tickets to entice fans and leagues.
Yeah, that's super exciting. So, what we've been talking about is sort of all of the aspects that kind of surround a music and events industry. And to me, it's clear the writing's on the wall that tickets are already, going digital, and they're ripe for transition. I want to turn the conversation a bit more to, Vandal as a musician, as someone who's, I'm a big fan of what you're doing. And specifically, though, can you tell the audience a bit more about what a DAO is? And, Record DAO does a lot of things, and you're helping a lot of people learn how to mint audio NFTs. But do you think there's a world in which record labels are kind of transformed by this? Do you see a world in which artists are actually interested in being more participatory in the governance, in the, finances of a music collective?
Yeah, these are the things that we're discovering at the moment. To go back to the first part about the DAO, I kind of look at it as like a decentralized artist organization, and it's just a convenient and transparent way to manage the governance of a community. And I think that anybody who's been a part of various communities, whether even if it's like a collective, like let's say you have a group, right? And then who in your group manages the finances, right? And who handles the various elements of what you're doing together. I think having that sort of transparency that's offered through a DAO, and also having the automated, dispersal of the funds, I think is really important, because a lot of times I've seen this happen, like, I don't know how many times with artists and their management, and you know the manager skimming off the top of things, fudging invoices and doing all that kind of stuff, and it can really destroy a community, arguing over money. And I think this is a sort of an easier way for people to understand that things are open and transparent and automated, which I think is amazing. So that's sort of like our approach was to look at how can we transform what a record label is into something new and reinvent it in a way where it's not a record label, in that sense, right? So you don't like sign artists and own their IP. We more like act as a facilitator for the community and grow a wider community. So we've actually, with Dow Records, we've worked with record labels. We partnered with labels, we partnered with artists, we partnered with collectives. And I think this is important because, obviously Dow Records, it sounds like a record label, right? And, I think that at the beginning, that's what it was, because we were thinking about how can we do this before the NFTs, before audio NFTs. And since audio NFTs and the ease of using DAOs now, I think before it was a bit complicated. And, we tried to do something with a DAO. It didn't quite work out. The members didn't interact. It was expensive on Ethereum. Now that we've been launching a bunch of DAOs on Near, which has been amazing. We have a music guild on Near as well, which is now a DAO. We're funding projects for artists. I think this is exactly what we want to be doing within this space. And of course, releasing audio NFTs on behalf of artists and helping facilitate artists to be able to then mint their own NFTs. Because I think artists, individual artists and collectives have their needs. And not everybody wants to handle sort of the technical side of things, yet other artists do. So it's really flexible in terms of how you want to approach it as an artist. If you want to take control of everything, then the power is in your hands, and I think that's amazing. But if you want to be a part of something and have things facilitated for you, you know that the trust and transparency is there, and you can see that and verify it and just be a part of it and learn along your way. So that's our approach to it.
I've drank the Kool-Aid long enough to understand the appeal of an open, transparent DAO for managing finances. I'm curious, Vandal, you said you also deal with, there are record labels that come to you and say, how can we work with record DAO or label DAO? What are they typically seeking, and what kind of labels have you dealt with? Have you gone
mostly independent? Yeah, it's mostly independent labels who are looking to leverage NFTs for their artists. So they will have artists signed to their labels. So, they have their deals that they manage. And I think that in order to have those artists, be able to mint NFTs, the label has to be proactive in setting that up. So we help facilitate that. We would do collaborations, whether it's actually releasing on behalf of the label and the artists, or whether we help them set it up themselves to do. And then we also use sort of the metaverse and crypto voxels to organize, events and launch parties. And this is kind of like a hand in hand with everything that we do. I think it's really important as well, especially now in this time where it's been challenging doing live music and having live events, to be able to have the option of using the metaverse and this virtual space to bring people together. And I found it's been really interesting, because it's brought me back to when I first had discovered MySpace, and I was able to connect with artists doing similar things to me from around the world, in which I would have never known about if it wasn't for MySpace. And I think that this same thing about connecting and collaborating has been, amazing, because that's what I think music is all about: collaborating and community and coming together and celebrating, and of course the art side of it and the fans and so on. So.
It's interesting. A question just came up in the chat that I was going to ask as a follow-up, Vandal. So I'll share a piece I wrote about sort of where we are with audio NFTs, and goes a little bit into the technicalities of the difference between a royalty producing NFT that pays continuous royalties to an artist, however many times it resells, and sort of where we are with the existing music industry, which has a central, at least in the United States, there's the Mechanical Licensing Collective. There are these, music rights management organizations that are essentially centralized databases that keep track of who has the publishing rights. They are also working with Spotify and labels, radio stations, commercials to make sure that royalties are paid out. We can see this happening on chain, but what is that gap? It's like there's a crypto world and then there's the real financial music world. How have you seen any attempts at bridging that gap?
That's really hard. I think it's really challenging, mainly because of the way that the traditional industry is it's been there. It's a legacy industry. It's been around for so long. It's been refined. There are so many various components to it. Like you were saying, the sync licensing, the mechanical licenses, the various royalty payouts, the performing rights societies around the world dealing in different currencies and different territories in terms of distribution and stuff. It's a mess, in my opinion, to look at how we can integrate. I think I'm more focused on how we can build our own ecosystem and how we can build our own industry and build out something like that, rather than how we can integrate into traditional industry, because I feel like a lot of it is a dinosaur in a way where it's going to be challenging for them to catch up. There's a lot of lawyers and legal side of it, and they're all trying to figure it out. And I think that, that's the most challenging aspect when I look at like talking to record labels, just to kind of go and answer back that question from Desert Crypto, is the existing royalty payouts, right? When it comes to the deals that record labels have with artists. That's why we tend to work with independent labels, because they're a bit more flexible when it comes to that. And then just understanding that they can go ahead with the content and use it on the traditional platforms if they want to as well. Doing an NFT for your music, it just adds an extra layer to what you have to offer fans. But ultimately, what we're trying to do is create a new music industry ecosystem that is built by the artists themselves, as opposed to by the establishment, and having them kind of implement the crypto or the NFT thing. Like, I'm sure they will. And I'm sure that they're working on it and trying to figure it out, especially on the legal side. But, with cryptocurrency, there's no borders. There's no dollar or euro or yen or whatever, right? So we can, figure out a new way to how to manage these performing rights societies, and have maybe one that, or a couple or a bunch, depending on what people need, which is what I think DAOs are all about, and what we can do with DAOs for collectives and everything. So it's like we're an ecosystem of all these various nodes of collectives, artists, labels that are using this technology, and we can interact together as interoperability starts to become more prevalent in the space, and more people start to come on board and have a better understanding of where things are going and how to interact with it. And I think that's the most empowering thing for the artists and independent labels as well to get in on.
Yeah, I think it's poetic justice that in crypto, we're not necessarily saying we're going to improve the music industry for artists. It's rather, we're going to let artists create a separate global permissionless industry. I think enough people have been burned by Spotify to feel that. So, maybe you're a musician, maybe you're listening to this conference and you say, how the hell do I get started? Carolin, I'm curious, when you talk with creators, whether it's artists or musicians, and they want to, create a DAO and use, I think you dropped Sputnik in there, or the CreateBase community. What are the common areas that how should people start, and what are the challenges you still see?
So usually when there are musicians asking me, like, where should I start? I usually point them towards Vandal DAO Records, because he's in the industry and he knows it, and he has a DAO which is specific for musicians. So how I see Mintbase's role here is more like a technology provider. We're not focused on art or on music or on anything, but we are like the infrastructure. People can even build their own NFT marketplaces if they can code. We have an API and a super easy developer section where you can build your own Spotify or your own music streaming platform with NFTs using Mintbase code. So yeah, and basically, I think there are so many people at the moment trying to understand what are NFTs, how does it work. So I always tell them, like even myself, I don't know what those NFTs are, but we are all trying to figure it out and we're defining it. So it's good that so many people are getting into the space. There's no right, there's no wrong. Just try it out. And also, you don't need to be on just one platform. You can be on any platforms, because I think most artists or most creators are presented everywhere. And that's what I find very special as well, because, you know, as a musician, usually you are bound to Spotify or you have this exclusivity contract. It's the same with like ticketing. And yeah, I think people and creators should use a platform or a technology because they want to, not because they have to. And yeah, my advice for anyone is, if you're interested, go to on mintbase.io. We have this community subpage where we have CreateBase, which is our internal community. But if you're a musician, then go to Vandal Records, and I posted his Telegram channel in there because he's more specified and more focused on music.
Looks like Ashton came back. So let's peer into the future, even in 5 years. What would a crypto-first festival look like, both from fans, artists, and the actual infrastructure to run it? Let's start with you, Ashton.
Yeah, great question, James. We've been trying to do full decentralized events at the Bitcoin meetup in Vancouver for years now, and I think NFTs may be a good tool to continue that decentralized. It's almost like turning an event into a DAO, where you can sort of fund it decentralized and have other people play a role in it. One of the things that I'm excited about for NFTs in events potentially is the fractionalized NFTs. And I just was speaking with NiftFi, and essentially you can take an NFT and do an offering where you create actually fungible tokens out of the NFT and sell them off. So you could take, you could build a budget for an event and sell 1,000 fungible tokens, which all have ownership of an NFT. And that could allow you to play a role in organizing an event. And ideally, banning fiat currency. So only crypto people can either pay with their cryptocurrencies or have some prove ownership of an NFT that has them in the club of getting into these crypto-based events. And it definitely makes it tougher, than just having a centralized party. But overall, it should make it more fair. And there's definitely going to be some trial and error, as it doesn't seem to be as organized sometimes with the Bitcoin meetups when they're trying to do it full decentralized. And it's just like, we got to get the governance right and get it streamlined to be able to just sit back and say, hey, we can actually sit around and enjoy the event and have a great time without having to worry about the logistics of it. So I think there's still quite a while before we get to that point. But I think with the introduction of other financial products inside of NFTs to utilize them in different ways, throughout this year, we're going to make huge leaps in getting to that point.
I have a question for Ashton. Is EventChain, is that your own blockchain? Did you develop your own blockchain?
We didn't develop our own blockchain. We actually started developing it on Ethereum back when we were, in 2017. It just made it easiest. And then, yeah, we did run into those gas problems that you had the same problems, Carolin, with Ethereum growing. But at the same time, when the gas fees went up, we were pivoting a lot to digital events, because it was during when these large festivals were shut down still, and we're still getting back to that point right now. At one point, we actually utilized a hybrid enterprise blockchain solution called GoChain, which has been a project around for quite a while as well, which uses private and public blockchains to help rid of the Ethereum fees. So, but we're still, you know, I've been an Ethereum fan since the ICO, and we believe that that is the future. It's just a matter of using these other layer 2 solutions and moving to proof of stake to fully utilize Ethereum for ticketing in a way that will be, you know, cost-free, essentially.
Cool. I think we just have a few minutes left. So I wanted, Vandal, if you could share with the audience some of the cooler music projects you've been seeing come through DAO Records, and you know, kind of like give a shout out to some stuff we should be following in terms of innovative projects.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I guess one of the most exciting things I think, you know, that we've been involved in is really just like onboarding onboarding people, because the more people I speak to, the more ideas, because they're not really understanding what necessarily what NFTs are, or what a DAO is, or what the crypto stuff is. So they're coming with the different perspectives and ideas, and I think that, you know, it's them going, hey, can we do this? Can we do that? And to me, that's really exciting because it allows us to experiment. And I'm really all about experimenting. Like almost everything we've been doing has been an experiment. For example, I'm currently about to release my project, Rare Vandal, and I'm doing it in a way where I'm giving away the NFT, the audio NFTs, in sort of like a hunt. So you've got to, you know, go perform various tasks. You can collect them through performing these tasks. And at the end, if you want to get the one of one Rare Vandal, you've got to have all 4. And the person that get all 4 can then claim the Rare Vandal. But how do you get all 4? Well, you might not be able to. And I want to kind of see how that's going to evolve, whether people are going to use the marketplace and sell the extra NFT that they've claimed, or to how they're going to get the other 3 if they only have 1. And so to me, it's about just kind of doing fun experiments and kind of pushing the boundaries, and really just kind of seeing where that leads us, especially when it comes to social token integration, DAOs, communities, and then just kind of building out the infrastructure and the tools that artists need. But, you know, like stuff in Crypto Voxels has been exciting. You know, integrating NFTs and live performances and DJs, and having this sort of social aspect, I think is really cool. And yeah, I would just say, just like, have fun with it. It's supposed to be fun. Let's have fun, you know.
All right. Well, it looks like we're at time. I'd be remiss to not share, you know, a lot of this conversation. We talked about gas fees, Ethereum being difficult. My company, Ethereum, has been or ConsenSys, which is built mostly on Ethereum, has created a side chain called Palm.io. And we're doing our first launch with a well-known artist named Damien Hirst. But in the future, it's going to be music, it's going to be different entertainment, and it's going to be a scalable version of, you know, Ethereum. Plus, ETH2 is coming, so anyone with environmental concerns about proof of work can be rest assured that 99.95% less energy is going to be used. Anything else you want to shout out, Carolin? I think I skipped you.
Yeah, if I may, we are looking for a UI designer and a Rust developer to join our team. We are in Lisbon, but we are also open for a remote position, so please reach out if you are interested.
Cool.